Coffee cold, mine's woke. 2 mics, 1 code. Yeah, yeah. Scrolling through the chaos, headlines loud, hearts numb. Then I hear that drip talk, cutting through the hum. Gem with the side eye, truth stain with the data in his cup. They don't just gas up dreams, they show you how to level up. Oh, from the hustle to the headlines, from the culture to the grind. Every angle, every timeline, they lace and never waste your time. Welcome to the daily drip. Let it run, let it run, let it hit. Oh, tech and politics, stacking common sense. Turn it up, feel it in your chest. Clicking, let your future flip like describe your own ascent. Every gem, every take, every tip. Oh, yeah. They make it make sense. Yeah. Thumb tied from the doom feed, faith in rent thick algorithm playing mind games. Selling you the same quick fix, then I catch that real talk about credit scores and crypto slips. Union fights and AI rights, and why your boss be talking slick. Left lane, right lane, truth rise in the same frame. If it's cap, they call names. If it's facts, they fan flames. Oh yeah. Welcome to the daily drip. Let it run, let it run, let it run, let it hit. Tech and politics, stacking common sense. Turn it up, feel it in your chest. Clicking, let your future flip like describe to your own ascent. Every gem, every take, every tip. Yeah, they make it make sense. Yeah. From your side gig to your 9 to 5, from the group chat to the bottom line. They're the late night guide through the glitch and grind. If you listen close, you gon' change your life. Change your life. Welcome to the daily drip. Let it run, let it run, let it run, let it hit, hit. Hey, tech and politics, stacking common sense. Turn it up, feel it in your chest. Clicking, let your future flip like subscribe to your own ascent. Every gem, every take, every tip. Our daily drip, they make it make sense.
Welcome to our Daily Drip Show. I am your co/solo host tonight. It's me, Jim Jones, the building, coming through to give y'all some of that late night drip. Just a little bit, not too much. Should be a pretty quick show, but we've had a lot going on, and I did want to reach out to our people, which is the Odd Squad. That's y'all. So shout out to y'all. If you are not subscribed, make sure you do so. That's how you become a part of the Odd Squad. If you're here still, go ahead and hit that like button. It don't cost you nothing. It's free. We appreciate it. It helps us with the algorithm as well. And we, as in me, Jim Jones, and my co-host is Plain Dane, but he's not here with us tonight. But y'all know him. He's always here in spirit, so appreciate y'all. So tonight specifically, y'all, we're going to talk a little bit about the economy and living paycheck to paycheck. But y'all know my bag is the tech bag, right? More specifically, I've been really honed in on AI and honed in on how these companies are moving with technology as a whole. So tonight, we're going to pull some of that together. I want to discuss a little bit about the squeeze. So big squeeze going on, y'all. And, we got to make sure we take care of our people as we do that. So, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this. And in the background, you may not see him, but he's always around. It's Cassius Pay is in the back as the producer. Very much appreciate him. He's always here. We appreciate him very, very much. So he may pop in, he may not, but appreciate him being here. And drop some drip in the comments. I do, though. Drop some drip in the comments. Let me know where y'all from. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and do so. Like I said, hit that like button. All right, y'all. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about American households taking a margin cut But specifically, we'll just start talking about the economy and then we'll start talking about technology and how it's impacting that. So, y'all know me. I pull up with the article. So, I got an article from Fortune by Katika Roy. Not sure how you say it, but long story short, let's get this out of here, y'all. But long story short, the household margin, essentially how much money people have to use to spend to live off of is not reflected in the Wall Street. Wall Street, y'all, stock growth for a lot of different stocks, boom, been going crazy. Everybody's like, oh, we're up this and the stock market's doing great, but people are really struggling. They're like, I don't know how people are struggling. Well, yeah, I mean, they could be struggling because, like we said in previous shows, there's companies laying people off. There's actually like being replaced in itself. Last night, y'all, we talked about Microsoft hitting y'all with the early retirement. Let me just drop a little drip on that. These companies are coming up with new ways to continue to make this margin grow, and grow. Microsoft talking about, however, the math is math, and to get you to 70, you can retire. Not even you can, you're going to. So, like we said last night, there is layoffs where they say, look, we don't need you no more. There's performance management that people get performance managed out. That's another way that's essentially a layoff. And then there's early retirement. Typically in early retirement, what has happened in a more recent years, they'll say, hey, you got like 2-3 years left. Go ahead, retire. You know, you right there. We'll just give you a little package to get you over that hump. And then you can officially retire so you can collect your benefits. Well, some of these companies are cutting that short by doing, Microsoft said, if you worked with us for 20, let's say you're 50. You work for us for 20 years. So you started at 30. 50 plus 20 is 70. You're going to go ahead and voluntarily early retire. Now, I don't think they can force you, but the key in this component is that this is some of the tactics that people are feeling the pull economically. So even if you retire, like we said last night, let's say you retire at, 50, right? You retire at 50. You cannot collect benefits like Social Security. You're not going to get, I think it's Medicare, but you can't get those government benefits to bridge that gap. And so what happens is you have to take the capital you do have if you do retire. And this is how people end up in these situations. So stock market booming, right? You out the workforce, you're no longer on Microsoft's books as an example. So Microsoft said, hey, we made money, John ain't here no more. So his money goes back into the ecosystem. We're doing good, shareholders. Well, yes, but John not doing good because John got to either go get a new job. He's been at Microsoft probably almost his entire career, right? Since he's been 30, right? So now he's 50. And now he's got to figure out these last 15 years, maybe even 20, depending on what era he's born in. And so that continues to bridge these wage gaps. People who have had these jobs that there's kind of no reason why they wouldn't have the job, right? And now they don't have the job. So this is where we're at with this. Let me check, make sure I don't have any comments. Oh, shout out to Joe. Joe is in the comments tonight. Shout out to Joe. Thanks for pulling up, Joe. I know I do the pop-ups. Is the Talk Techie to me are the pop-ups, and this is in fact one of those. So this article is talking about how the value shifts up and down. And actually, I'm going to go to this one. So let's go to this one. And I should have showed this a little bit. So this is like one of those, I know we talk about AI and AI being like AI slop. I don't know if y'all have heard of the term AI slop. People use that as people used AI to create something, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to say it's not factual, but it's just heavily used AI to put the content out there. So this very well might be AI slop, but I think it's a pretty cool imagery as I talk about some of these things. So going back to Wall Street, right? So Wall Street is doing great. Stocks are doing great. If you look at all the companies, maybe not all, because I can't speak for all of them, but if you look at a good chunk of the companies that have laid off, right, and look at where their stocks are, they're usually doing pretty good after they lay people off. Another thing that a lot of them have in common, let's bring it back to the tech part of it. A lot of them will say, we're moving in a direction to be more efficient using AI or technology or whatever. But where does that leave the people who are the consumers? Where does that leave Americans? Where does that leave make America great again? Make America great again. Where does that leave bringing jobs back to America? If anything, I mean, it's kind of doing the opposite of that. And it's a weird place in the economy, right? Where I think all of us are aware that this is happening, right? There's an efficient technological entity, and I think that everybody, for the most part, knew that something was going to come about. That there's been countless movies, right, where Terminator, what is it? I don't. Is it Judge Dredd? There's iRobot. There's like all these different movies that are very big on how technology can, I don't want to say rule, but take over things or make something more efficient or do something more rules and less emotion based. So because of that, eventually it was going to come for the jobs. So now we're going to have to think about, with these margin gaps, how can we be more financially prepared for what's going on? Technology isn't going anywhere. So I don't say this to scare y'all. Y'all know how I feel about AI taking over jobs and all those things. But
can you transform this material that's running in the background, please?
Yeah. I'm talking about so it's also talking about the margin trap. So what's running in the background, like I said, it very well could be AI slop, right? It could be let me get out of this. Let me go ahead and do that. It could very well be AI slop, but this one specifically is talking about how you could just all the things I just talked about, right? But this one specifically is talking about if you were to make $133,000, how are you even able to be broke? Now, the median income that people typically use when they want to say like, oh, everybody on average makes $60,000 a year. That's the average income across most states, right? This scenario is saying if you made double, how are you still broke? And it's breaking down certain scenarios in the background as I'm talking, so y'all had a visual. But it's breaking down different scenarios where it's talking about how one could, in fact, be, quote, broke. I have a few other videos coming up that's going to talk about Americans living paycheck to paycheck, as well as some tips on how you can utilize your money. Because the thing is, and we'll get to this later, whether it's 130,000, 500,000, or 50,000, if you can't manage money, no amount of money is going to make it work for you. The problem that's happening is everything else is going up for people who have to buy day-to-day things. Like I said, the S&P 500, the stock market, all those things are based on the business. But you yourself as a person, you're hit by how much things cost to import, export. The things you need on a daily basis, just in general. And you don't dictate how much some of the stuff costs. You just need it. Like toilet paper. Like Kimberly-Clark is a company that makes paper products.
All right, we could keep it all the way real. You don't technically need toilet paper.
I guess you could get a bidet. Shout out to Europe.
Wow, you're going bougie. Like people used to use cloth.
And people probably still do, as well as in some countries as
people
well.
do.
And I'm just saying,
let me pull
that's
in
just an
something
example.
on
Go
this.
ahead. That's just an example. I knew of a stock that I could use that people typically
Yeah,
buy.
that's one of your favorites.
Paper products. Yes, it's one that I know very well.
But this warning isn't coming from your normal YouTubers, right? We happen to be those. But we're talking about the commerce crowd as well. So she got into the former commerce secretary that was talking about AI triggering mass unemployment, but it's mass unemployment across white collar and blue collar work. So you thinking that, you know, a robot is going to come for, you know, the factory job, what they already have in some cases. It's just not humanoid robots at this point. But at Amazon and others. They're using things that's moving around uh, stacks of equipment or other things that are um, jobs that humans used to do and used to get hurt into. So there's some good aspects to it. But the translation that we're looking for here is that they're not just coming for the factories, they're also coming for the cubicle. So AI is
Everything.
already automating routine office tasks, customer service, junior analyst work faster than workers can retain, which means that the entry ramp to the middle class is getting a little bit shaky. Now, I will add in a caveat that it's
Teachers
not
as well.
particularly doing it well right now, right? So there have been companies that have quietly rolled back some of these opportunities and they're just going to lower cost regions. What's the lower cost region, do you ask? It would be moving and transitioning from Silicon Valley, which would be one of the higher cost regions, and transitioning over to, if you need to stay on the East Coast, maybe go to Brazil. Um, Maybe you can transition over to uh, one of the Asian countries. So that would be an Asian, meaning Asiatic. So that would be India. You can go
I remember
Singapore. You take your pick
somebody
on
just
all
got
of
their
them.
data center just got whacked too. That's out of the country too. I can't remember who it was. Um,
There are plenty that'll be
yeah.
in the region, even in Tel Aviv and all that. There's a lot going on there. Not as particularly cheaper. It's just in a centralized space um, for latency reasons, all that kind of stuff. But if we don't fix this bridge, the shock will show up as rage for the people. So, the former secretary literally said that America cannot withstand the AI shock without new worker support. And that anxiety will turn into political backlash against AI firms, AI users, and even politicians that are backing them. So when you hear AI revolution, you kind of got to listen to it as a revenue revolution in some form. And then we got the resume roulette that happens for everybody else. So Silicon Valley is selling you the productivity miracle, but if we're not careful, the only thing that's getting optimized is how fast your paycheck can get deleted. And so whether it's right or wrong, what we should be doing is preparing ourselves, because at the end it's a bottom line that's going on. So there we go.
Yeah, the Fortune article I meant to call this out said that it's a dual shock having the margin compression and uncertainty in the economy. So, aka, there's economically everybody's feeling squeezed, but also y'all know what I mean by uncertainty in the economy. Your gas just went from $4 to $5. Like that's uncertainty, not knowing how much stuff's going to cost or if it's going to be available. That's part of the uncertainty. But it says that it's a dual shock because both those are happening at the same time. And therefore, that 81% margin compression is directly intersecting with AI driven income disruption, which is what we're talking about here, is that is all happening along with you're fighting for opportunities, jobs, all this other stuff. What's real, what's not with AI. So just wanted to add on to what you have with that. So going through, I have a video here because a lot of
Before you
times,
before you do that, we'll I pulled up Joe's comment. He says he's using the AI right now, as he's watching the stream, probably using Anthropic or Claude. Maybe got some bots. Maybe he's selling shoes for Jim Jones's feet.
oh my
So
gosh, wow.
getting it
Shout
ready
out
to
to
go.
Joe.
Yeah, but I'll get into what he's talking about here. I'll talk about basically what it means. I kind of got into it, but I'm glad that he stopped and wanted us to cover it. So the trend is basically companies that fire people in the name of quote unquote AI. They realized that they overdid it, and now they are quietly hiring back some of those people often on worse terms, right? Because now the oh baby, I know the economy bad. You want your job back? How about for
Ah, you got it.
maybe 80% of what
You
you
got it.
got?
Go have
You know what I'm
Terminator
saying?
run it.
Or
Go have
as a
Terminator run
contractor where you used to have benefits and now you don't. Is it?
What?
And these are things that happen, right? So what does an AI boomerang mean, right? So this the phase shows up in HR and tech circles that describe like boomerang employees.
You
So
want an
that's what we're
example of
talking
one
about
everybody
here.
knows about? So an example is with X. Y'all remember back in the day, not so far long ago, X used to be Twitter. And then Elon came in and bought it. And when he did that, he said, "You got it." He did the opposite of Oprah. You ain't got no job. You ain't got no job. You ain't got no job because I'm gonna let automation just do it. Well, didn't really work that well. And they had some things messed up, and he was like, "So, hey, baby, you want to come back and work for X?" And they like, "Not really, but you're gonna have to pay for real." So that's an example where he had to go back and hire people who wrote code and knew things about Twitter that he needed for X, and therefore they're a boomerang because they were at Twitter. And then he said, "Nah," but then, "Hey, I still need you," so they boomerang back to him, back to the company. So
Okay,
that's
so let's break it down even a step further, a subcategory of this. So what even qualifies for the reason for the boomerang, right? So the top layer is, yeah, AI can handle that. Usually AI is handling tasks that people didn't know that they didn't need. Like so so the quality of the task is negotiable in a lot of this. But what happens is that it gets embedded with like service quality stuff. So you automate a job, right? Quality on it is pretty shitty. And then it also breaks like the internal workflows that people use to be skids to grease is what is called. Like you know that the process doesn't work. The tribal knowledge is there for that person to say, oh, okay, yeah, when this breaks, I go and talk to these two people, and then we essentially MacGyver this thing back
well,
together
then two people
and
gone.
keep
So
things up and running. Or they're the only people that know where this database is, or know where this particular software goes in order to reset something, or API call, stuff like that. I'm not
and you
trying to
know
get
what?
too nerdy.
Let's keep it real, y'all. We ain't even gotta just use this to tech. Y'all know people who've been at y'all job where they know this thing and they refuse to teach it to someone else. It's similar to that, or that they just are the person you go to. It doesn't matter the job, but you have probably in your career, or even if it's school, there's somebody who just knows this thing that really, if they left, it's not that you probably couldn't do it, but it's going to take you a really long time to be able to get to where they were, for you to get to where they were at, which means that if they would have just stayed, they could have taken it further. Would you agree with that?
I can. So
I mean, look, in the tech space, you run into people like that all the time. They got some secret place they keep there.
yeah, when
They
I
don't
worked
want to
in
tell
that
nobody
trench, there's
about.
one dude that knew about this old ass COBOL system. And I might even told this story already, but one guy, one day, he don't care. Everything gone and done. Why? Because he's the only one in the company. This is $1 billion company too, that knows the system. He wants to retire one day. He's tired. He don't want to come in and he in office mandates. I'm not coming in. They're like, sir, yes, sir. that's
Yeah.
that's how it goes. But Gardner and HR, the survey suggests that by 2027, about 50% of companies that cut headcount for AI will rehire staff into similar roles. So this is exactly what we're talking about. Often, though, it's going to be offshore at a lower pay. That's what I'm talking about.
AI
And
actually India. But yeah.
exactly. Actually, India or always India. You take your pick. That's been the running joke. But to put it bluntly, a firm might hire 100 workers, then rehire 20. And that's after AI, is the disappointment there. So the net, though, of it all is still 80 jobs that's gone even though the boomerang hit, they made the headlines on, what's going on, and the headlines are what's hitting the stock price in a lot of these companies. So they do it in the name of quote unquote efficiency. Meanwhile, people just quietly rehashing their resumes and waiting for the time. They're gonna wait for the time.
And just like I said before, once you get off that books, you're off their books, right? So like that's money that they recouped on you. You made $100,000 a year, and there were 10 of y'all, then all that money go back to the company.
Your
Yeah,
RSUs, if you had restricted stock units, that's going back to the pot. That counts as part of the buyback piece. There's a lot and your salary, so that all goes back into the pot. So
keep that in mind.
Hey, senior leaders, we want you to quote unquote retire early, so we can essentially get your restricted stock units and put them back into the pot. We ran out of people to fire. We can't fire any more people that actually are starting to do some work, and we might not be able to produce. So we need you people who've been here for a minute, and some of you who are probably going to be very, very integral to the company, to go. And then we're going to hire you back at a consultant salary once it all breaks, and you're going to make double to triple. That's usually
where the money
what's going to happen. Yep.
So that was good. Like that was a very good educational part of this. I want to get into, because this is very much, we're setting the scene on like the why. Let's stay on the track of the money. So another place that people don't think about, because we're talking about jobs, we're talking about work. Well, I'm retired, or I'm going to retire. That ain't gonna do nothing to me. I'm good, or I'm about to retire. I'm not worried about nobody AI. I'm about to be out of here in 5 years, 10 years. Well, Dr. Weir says not so much. Y'all got problems too, because AI coming for your reduction in benefits as well. So we'll hear a little bit on him. He's a former manager, so let's hear what he has to say. But I think it's interesting because I have not heard anybody talk about Social Security benefits and how AI actually will impact or could impact it. So let's have a listen. Make sure I turn this up so y'all can hear.
And robots have an effect on your Social Security check? Certainly looks like it. We're going to talk about that today. There's already an estimate by the Social Security trustees that within 81 checks, everybody's check is going to be cut by 23%. So if you're receiving $1,000 right now, you're going to lose $230. If you're receiving $2,000, you're going to lose $460. That's not me saying it. That's a Social Security trustees report, the people that do the calculations on how much is in the trust fund, how much comes in this year through FICA taxes, how much gets paid out. So basically what we're talking about here is there's a trust fund and it's running out. Nobody can deny that. But Social Security will still be around here for hundreds of years in the future, unless we privatize it, give it over to Wall Street, and there's no telling what they will do. But as long as we don't do that, it will be around here for hundreds of years. The problem is once the trust fund runs out, that extra money that's covering the gaps right now, then the only thing we will have coming in is how much people working right now pay into the system. So
what he just got into, we've talked about this on the show too. We talked about the birth rate. We talked about, the
Ponzi.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are having children older, not having children at all. The birth rate is the lowest that it's ever been. And people are waiting to have kids, or like I said, or not at all. The way this works is everybody who's working right now, you are actively putting in for those who are not working. It's not like there was some pot just hanging out that like all the money you work for today, they have a big old pot that says Jim Jones, and we just dropping money in it. No. It's empty. Jim Jones' pot is empty. Jim Jones is paying for Jerry Jones. But Jim Jones is paying for all the people.
I think Jerry Jones cool.
He still get a check. He still get a check.
I bet he
still
gonna
get a check.
use it too.
And
He
he gonna
take
get
it.
that. He get that $5,000-$6,000 a month check. He's still getting his check. I think the cap is like 5 or 6 racks, and he getting his check too. So yes, we are. I'm paying into anybody. If your grandparent is or whoever you know that's retired, you are paying into how they get their checks. Meaning that when it's your turn to retire, if there's not enough people paying in to get you a check, ta-da! Because it's like you said, it's a essentially a hamster wheel of that. Somebody gotta keep it going. When you done working, you off that hamster wheel. But guess what? Somebody else better get on that bad boy and keep on running. And that's just how that has to go. So I did not know about the trustee thing, so that was pretty cool. So I'll let him rock.
Well, it has to go into a pot of some sort, right? But the thing about a pot is nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Yeah.
You gotta have something.
Gotta have something.
If you want to show your feet.
Wow.
So it's basically your check. If your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors are receiving a Social Security check this year, about 91%, a little bit less. These are calculations from last year. The new calculations for this year haven't come out yet, probably next month or so. But 9, 10, 12% of your Social Security check, anybody that's receiving Social Security check, comes from the trust fund. That money that baby boomers put away started in the 1980s to prepare for the baby boomers starting to retire. And they're starting to retire right now. 12,000 people turn 65 every single day. And those people receiving a check, about 91% of that check comes from that guy down the street currently working, the gal down the street currently working at the restaurant, the barbershop, wherever the case may be, currently working. About 91% of your check comes from those people. The other 9% comes from the trust fund, that savings. And what's going to happen is this is last year. So it's about 9% last year. This year, it'll probably be 12% of your check comes from the trust fund. And then next year, about 14%, and then about 15%. And then in 81 more checks, we're talking 2033 at that year, giving current estimates, about 20.
So that's huge. And we've been talking about the birth rate, right? But also he did tap, I meant to call this out too. He tapped on having Wall Street having control of the money and like not doing that. That was a good shout out on that because to me, I also don't know if I would want that. I don't think it's like almost basically taking your Social Security and putting it in a 401k. Like basically you got 2 401ks at that point. Nah. So anyways, let's go ahead and let them keep rocking.
Of your Social Security check will come from the trust fund. And then guess what happens? The trust fund is empty. And there's no more money that's going to fill in that 23% gap.
So basically he's saying this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But let's talk about root cause. There's 2 root causes in this. One root cause is what we talk about, the birth rate, right? So if at first we were not using the surplus, that's, when the government talks about a lot of times it's the surplus, we're not using the surplus, right? But now we're going to continue to use the surplus as time goes on very quickly because there's not enough people putting back into it because they're not born. Another part though is if you continue to lay people off, make them retire early, performance manage them out, and they are not working. If they are not working, they are also not a part of that 91% right here. So if you keep saying AI is going to do it more efficient, AI doesn't put money into Social Security. Let me say that again. AI does not put into Social Security. So unless those companies are going to, take the difference for every person they quote made more efficient and put that in Social Security, that doesn't help this scenario. I think that's where I'll play a little more, but that's kind of like a part of one of the paths is going down. But it takes humans to put into Social Security. If you're no longer using humans to get the work done, because you're not like technically taxing them essentially for the working, you're not going to tax the robots unless you're going to make a Social Security robot fee. I mean, that might be an idea. Good luck, though.
The issue is,
This is
okay, so we
pause it
need to
really
address
quick
that. Number one.
because Joe brought up a good point.
Oh, we got a comment. Sorry, y'all, I can't see it.
Yeah, is Joe? He said until the government figures out, our AI tax, brings up really what people are talking about in the near term is essentially socialist types of things where you would essentially get a stipend or a check because you're out of work. I think Elon Musk has brought this up. A couple other billionaires have brought this up.
He didn't bring it up like that, though. He just made it seem like humans.
That's essentially what it is.
It is, but they're not bringing it up like that.
Listed as utopia, but
there you go. They have this human utopia where you can do what you want all day, and the robots will just work for you. You really, y'all believe that? Y'all believe that? I sure don't.
No, it feels more like a chaperone at that point. That's what that would be.
It's for real 1984, George Orwell, which would be absolutely insane. But yeah, AI tax, I see what you're saying, Joe. That I could see that. But to me, my thing is this: why y'all not taxing them companies? Every time they say, "Oh, we did this for AI to be more efficient," they should automatically have to put a whole bunch of money in Social Security or something like that. Like every part and pot, like you don't get to just not pay for people. And that, like, as we go through this, like, it's essentially like it's a way to undercut paying people, schools, social services, all that. So tax them on it. Cool. You want it faster? Bet. Pay this extra tax so the schools can get better, so our retirees can have health care, so people can have, and we talked about this too, Social Security should not be your only means of retirement. Please put some money to the side, y'all. But there's a lot of people who do use Social Security only.
Various forms of money.
Really, I think it wasn't it like 70% or something like that of people use Social Security as their only? It was something crazy. I can't remember. It was the majority of people who get Social Security are living off of just Social Security. They don't have 401ks. They don't have any other kind of assets that they would leverage to be able to live. So my thing is this: if you're laying people off, you're taking away from the ability for that pot to happen, and you're saying it's more efficient. Cool, you're saving all this money. Go put the money back in there then. Go put that back in there then. We should not have to pay for that. They're the ones making more profit from that. Let them pay for it. Look, you still ain't paying their salary and their benefits. You can pay the Social Security. Still cheaper.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, it's still cheaper.
It's just the minimum Social Security is just also it will leave a lot to be desired. Like I don't know what it is, but I know it probably can't be much. It'll probably be something like $400 to $600 a month. There's some people who have hardly ever worked or have never worked. They've been homemakers or something like that, and hopefully they were married to someone and they can give the benefits of that person who may have passed away.
Please don't be a homemaker who ain't been married to somebody. Go get married.
Yeah.
Go get married. Go marry somebody. I'm sorry, y'all. Go marry somebody.
You just said
go marry somebody, baby. It is hard out here. I've seen some, a long time ago I worked in finance, banking industry, and I seen some checks, y'all, where the ladies was getting these checks. And that's because their husbands were getting checks. And so they get to have a check that is, I don't want to say like but it's not too far from the husband because they're a homemaker. But if you a homemaker in a home without no husband who was actually paying taxes on XYZ, you're going to get the bare minimum. So I know I say that with like, go get married. You a homemaker, maybe go get married.
But I mean, it's what we talking about with Social Security is essentially pay as you go, right? So the current workers, they pay around 12% of the payroll taxes, and that's gone up and is about to go up in 2026. So that funds today's retirees. Is what we're talking about. And that's even before AI. So the system is projected to have a 75-year shortfall, about 4.2% of taxable payroll. So the main fund is depleting, like he said, around 2033 and 2034. So it's not a magic pot of money. It's a giant group chat. Workers paying 12.4% of every dollar that's going, to the cap so that retirees can eat this month. The Ponzi scheme is Ponziing. What will we do in order to ensure that our future, because we're nowhere near Ponzi scheme territory, right? Who knows where retirement is going to be by the time any of us on this chat at least is going to be able to do this. So let's see. Joe says my wife gonna be Gucci. 802K for those who ain't in
The
the
802s.
in the know.
Shout out to Joe.
802 is two 401ks. So IRAs, portfolios. She can't wait to marry me so I can pass away.
Shout out to Joe. So I think this is a good segue opportunity.
From, Cambodia somewhere, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
This is a good segue opportunity because the thing is, this isn't going away, y'all. And so we also have to think about what is going on and what can we do about it. So let's hear some opinions of what people think paycheck to paycheck is, because a lot of Americans, I can't speak for the world, but a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So let's see people are saying stop living paycheck to paycheck and what they would recommend.
The paycheck, you have to figure out and take time and really analyze yourself. Like, it's not thinking of ways to make money. You got to think of ways to like, yo, what am I doing wrong with the money I'm making now? Like, what's wrong? Like, and that's the ability to think like, yo, analyze and judge yourself. What am I doing wrong? If I'm working and I'm applying myself, it's 24 hours in a day. I'm not saying getting a second job is going to help you. Realistically, you have to think to yourself, what am I doing wrong?
So his theme on this is what am I doing wrong? I got X amount of dollars and I have X amount of time in a day. With those constraints, those things that I have to stay within those boundaries, what am I not seeing that needs to be done so I can not live paycheck to paycheck? So that's where he's going with that. So
you're living paycheck.
So that's what he meant by that. So drop some drip in the comments. Do you think that you should look at what you're doing wrong? Or do you think about other ways you can imagine that? I got another person for y'all to take a look at. I want to see if y'all agree, disagree, think something else, other. I think it's good. I feel like you could always learn something that someone else does. Sometimes you take the things that work for you and you let go of the things that don't. But sometimes you'll hear something from someone, you're like, I never really thought about it that way. So let's hear some more ideas on how people can maybe think about ways to not live paycheck to paycheck, but maybe a little bit better.
Main reason so many people live paycheck to paycheck is that too many people don't know how to manage their money. If you can't manage 50K a year, you'll never manage 200K a year. One of the main reasons so many people live paycheck to paycheck is that
that's what I was talking about too. So like specifically what he's saying is, if I like to spend money, y'all really think that give me $200,000 is gonna make me be like, oh man, all of a sudden I need to be frugal now. I gotta save. That's usually not what happens. Usually people who have good financial spending habits or have boundaries about different things. Discipline. It doesn't matter if they started with $1 million, $5, $500 million, because their mindset is a certain way. Not saying you can't change your mindset. You definitely can always change your mindset. That is a beautiful thing about living every single day. But being realistic about things. Money will not just fix that you don't have money problems. You have to fix why you have money problems. What is the problem? How did you get there? What you gonna do to stop doing that so it don't happen again?
There's two sides to it. So I play the devil's advocate to the fury here. Is that we'll go with generational mindsets, right? So usually it's an older generation that's going to tell a younger generation that you need to, you know, pull those purse strings together and do this and that. But you know, they lived in an era where it's different. There was a lot of growth. The amount of inflation was not as heavy as it is today. There were a lot of social programs going on in the last, you say what, 40-ish years that was happening, especially, you know, post Reconstruction, and you're going into you know, the civil rights type of area or arena. There was a lot of meal programs and all of that allowed people to start going and moving into different spaces and interculturally as well. The mindset has shifted because there was a generation of kids that were told that they need to go to college, and that lended itself to a ball and chain for a lot of people, where you need to come out of college making at least a certain amount in order to pay for a student loan and eat. And that's
And
with yeah, and that's with, I mean, supply and demand, right? Back in the day, college used to be $2,000 a year, especially if it was like a state school, heavily subsidized, heavily funded. But as you start getting basket weaving classes and comic book courses and all these, you know, fake ass electives that people were getting, I don't know how comic book courses would help anybody, you know, be able to get a job. But having that as an elective is just adding fluff to and kind of dilutes the bottom line of the degree when you think about it, especially you talk about liberal arts and all that. Yes, there's a place for it. However, I think a lot of it could be, we'll say, streamlined in order to get you what you need and get you the hell up out of there. So, you know, that changed things. But the internet will tell you it's all mindset, but the math says otherwise. When you got 2 out of 5 workers across Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X, where there's literally nothing left after basic bills, it's not just, you know, quote unquote latte discipline. It's structural.
Yeah,
and
it's
build
not
a
just
paycheck
latte,
pipeline
right.
is on some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean you're right, but there are other things that people just are unknown about. Like check out velocity banking as an example. I can't remember that lady's name, but she teaches people how to velocity bank. There's tools that people can also have to help them with their financial situations, but they have to be real about it as well. And so here's a video where a lady's going to talk about how she kind of navigates this as well. I have to sneeze, y'all. I gotta go on mute.
Living paycheck to paycheck in 2025, here's what you got to do. And this is coming from someone who did it herself in 2018 when she was only making $27,000 a year. The first thing you have to do is start tracking your spending. Take 5 minutes at the end of each day, look at your bank account, look at your credit card statements, and just write down what you spent your money on. I promise, if you've never done this before, you will be surprised how much money you spend on some things. Once you've been tracking your spending for a couple weeks, the next thing you're going to do is make your first budget based off of your actual spending. I don't want you to think, oh, I should only be spending $200 on groceries. I should only be spending this. Doesn't matter. If you restrict too much too soon, it's going to be really hard. You're going to resent your budget and you're going to give up. Once you're actually budgeting and saving some money, you are going to start building your emergency fund.
So she's giving steps on things that someone could do to first start off with. What the first guy talked about was like, what am I doing wrong? So she kind of started with that. And then she's telling you, like, based on that, be realistic about what's going on with your situation. And then after you get that under control, how you're going to be able to get out of paycheck to paycheck living. And she didn't say it was overnight. She didn't say it was overnight, y'all.
This should be a minimum of 1 month of expenses, but ideally 3 months of expenses. And if you can only save $10 a month, do it. Now, if you are only putting away $10 a month or you're spending more than you make, it's time to think about how you're going to increase your income. Can you ask for a raise? Look for a new job, start a side hustle, learn a new skill. Believe me, in my perfect world, everyone would make a living wage doing what they love. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. And the only person coming to rescue you from your financial hardship is you. If you want some help getting started tracking your spending,
that's real. That was real.
What's real is that she talked about people making money doing what they love. I don't care about doing what I love. I care about what makes the money.
She said if she could, she would, but she's saying this is the real world. So chances are you ain't. That was her being empathetic, but also being very real. I think she delivered a great message with this about identifying where you have potential issues or opportunities, however you want to think of it. Based on that information, set yourself a plan and start executing it and getting a routine, become disciplined. We talked about this earlier, what discipline looks like. Get disciplined. And then once you're disciplined, start moving towards building yourself some kind of buffer, no matter what that looks like. It's better than what you have. Remember when you started where you were just going in the negative. And then from there, if you identify that you need more, you're going to have to get creative with, are you going to make more money? Are you going to, I don't know, sell some stuff, whatever. Yeah, like whatever it may be to get beyond that. So I thought that was a good video.
At the end of the day, it's just stuff where half the things that people buy, where they don't even really need it. So you're not even, drawing into the essentials. Joe had a great comment here. It says, one of the scariest things I ever did was open up all of my finances and look at where my money was going. Get over this fear. The freedom after that initial shock is like taking an edible. but I don't know about, feel like I'm high or nothing like that. But what I'm saying is that this is really good to get over that fear over that, because you don't know, where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And it can be very scary to open up your bank account after, playing Monopoly, and all of a sudden your account's in the negative and you got to try to figure some things out.
You thought you was the banker, psych?
No, you got banked on.
Yeah, you ain't banked.
So be realistic about it. So my grandfather, he hated using credit. Ironically, he had a well over 800 credit score by the time that he passed away. Those habits did not go over to my grandmother, however. She had to learn after bumping her head a few times. And now she is better and more disciplined and has understood, she didn't need to buy shit anyways, but she thought that she had to live off her credit cards in order to maintain her lifestyle, when really her lifestyle needed to go with where the income was. And then she didn't need any of these credit cards. Now she's saving.
My bad. I cut you off. Go ahead, continue. I can't unmute you, by the way. Cash Spape, you still talking?
Okay.
Yeah, that was my bad. I clicked the button. My bad, y'all.
Oh, okay.
That was me.
Then after she got the financial discipline together, it's like training wheels. Now she looks at her account and she likes what she sees, and now she values that over the random shit that she was buying, grandkids and otherwise. So that, I congratulate her. It's never too late to learn, whether you're 8 or 80s. Learning the invention, the thrill of delayed gratification, it will take you places that you've never dreamed. So you can read books on that if you need to, but there's plenty of YouTubes and Googleables that you can do that on. Delayed gratification will get you into doors that you never thought that you'd be able to open, and O's on your bank account that you never thought that you would be able to see.
So if you're gonna,
you go ahead. I was queuing up the next video because that's a good segue into our last group. Y'all know that I love Earn Your Leisure. Ian Dunlap, master investor, shout out to him, shout out to the platform. But they talk about various different things. And in this one, they're talking about, I'll skip through towards more like the retirement parts of it, but they are discussing what it looks like to understand wealth and technology. And the thing that they got into that was interesting, it goes back to the college conversation, is the guy that they have sitting there, he was like, yeah, I talked to one of my friends, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but somebody graduated high school. I was like, oh, what you about to major in? And they're like, I'm gonna major in computer science. And he was like, are you sure? And they're like, well, yeah, everything's going to AI. And he's like, yeah, for that reason, maybe you should look at a data scientist, because the actual analysis piece of that is where the money's at, more than likely. So like, as we guide our children and talk about where their opportunities are, just saying, oh, I'm going to do technology isn't
setting up
necessarily a
kids
good
for areas of growth.
for that. What can you do with it that makes the human touch, the inferences made, what makes you the person that can continue to build on this? And so they start off talking about that. And he talked about like in his past, like where he and his wife, I think he said his ex-wife, they were trying to get this to fast forward, how they kind of invested and they started talking about kids, but then he's going to talk about AI now. And I want to talk about this. Yes, this is the accepted. He talked about that data science. And then he's going to talk about retirement, which aligns with what we're talking about here.
something related around analytics, because AI is programming better than the best coders out there, right? So there's no
which is not true.
really having coders. You need people that can disseminate the data. In fact, that's exactly what my son.
No, there's been a lot of jackups, mess ups that's happened.
Yeah.
They're like,
there's people that are stating this. There are junior coder code that is readily available in open source. Yes, because it can pull from those sources. However, there's certain things that you would try to get from AI that it can't do simple things within a spreadsheet. That it has to do with various forms that are available externally within internal sources, but also it has to do with the quality of the data that you're also looking at and retrieving. So as a blanket statement, I disagree. That's all I'm saying.
So here's where I agree with him in a sense of the volume. So technology compared to volume is
meaning that you could fuck up something at scale. That's what that is. So I could break a little bit of code as a human, or I could break or delete every damn thing as
more
a bot.
so this. A lot of developers, and I don't know how many of them still do it this way, but usually there's like he's the big daddy developer. That's the one that's going over the code reviews. That's the one who's allowed stuff to the pipelines. That's the one that's really looking at what's going in and what's coming out and making those calls. That person right there is still doing their job, whether it's AI or whether it's a junior developer. They're still overseeing that. What I mean by volume is that person's job got that much more valuable because they should be doing the same thing they would have for 3 junior developers over X amount of things that need to go in. They would have to oversee 3 times, 4 times as much of what AI is basically recommending to put in. The checks and balances piece that's missing, and why we probably have some issues. I don't want to call any names, but we have some issues in development sometimes. It's like that person's not there. Like they're like, oh, AI is done. Go ahead. Like, let's get that new stuff out. No. Whether it's a junior person intermediate person or AI, that big daddy developer still needs to be there and still needs to be kind of like overseeing that stuff. And if they're not doing that, then that's a big problem. So yes, you could get more volume because, like I said, that person just has to look over more of it. So I would say that AI would be more efficient with that because it can kick out more faster than the junior developers. Just they're not humans. Joe said, "Oh wow, yes," in the human intervention part, absolutely, Joe. The human intervention, I think, is key. You cannot get rid of everyone. But what he's getting at here is you want to be the big daddy developer. You don't want to be, or a data scientist, you don't want to be the junior developers for long because eventually they only need one of you, not three of you, because it takes one AI to do another
have a junior developer.
I'm just making an
that's really
example.
what's happening for a lot of junior developers are losing their positions, and it's requiring a lot of senior development to come in and try to figure out what's wrong, look at source code, all those things that you would. But the whole thing is that the pipeline is dying on the vine because you need junior developers to become
that person.
Journeyman developers.
I mean, they have to be the big daddy developer. They're not going to have that experience. Same thing with it's no different than Social Security. If you don't have the babies to be the workers, they can't put back in the economy. If you don't have the developers to learn the tricks of the trade and to get their wings, right, then they're never going to be able to oversee all that. I mean, they can, but they're not going to be as efficient because they haven't seen a lot of stuff. They're not as experienced, right? Well, that just makes those people who did get an opportunity way more valuable. They're going to be rich.
Yeah, like that dude that was at my old company where he wasn't coming in office and he came in when he wanted to. And if something was broke, he was the only person that could fix it.
It's going to be a whole lot more of them. A whole lot more of them. So
and for that reason, they're trying to figure out how AI can help with COBOL.
Oh, good luck with that.
He's going into medical informatics and getting a master's in that area. The other areas, like I said, is healthcare is going to be strong. AI is going to enable, healthcare to another level, but you still need nurses. You still need caregivers,
correct,
people in that space as well. Another thing that people don't think about is construction management. There's still going to be a need to construct and build things. AI is going to help in terms of, project management and being able to predict when you can get things done. And also, you guys talk a lot about real estate. AI is not going to really, it's not going to buy an apartment building. So it's still going to take owners and people that still need a place to live. So there's a few things that people should kind of focus or look into.
This is playing Dame's area, but it can identify the risk, right? So like anybody who's worked in insurance, I think I'm allowed to say this. I'm not in insurance. It's been a long time, but in insurance, there's risk factors. Like if this building is in South Carolina, right on the coast, that's a high risk of a hurricane. AI can know that because it knows the address. It knows how many times this area had a hurricane. What's the predictability of a hurricane coming soon? How often? How many times is it predicted to happen? All those are things that AI actually can predict of.
So now you're trying to replace an actuator is what
I was going to say. The next thing would be an actuary. It would basically be taking some of that actuaries, the brokers, because if in a system of you wouldn't even technically need a broker, right? I want to buy insurance. I just go in there and say, is this good or bad for me? Well, it would say here, what do you consider good or bad? Well, if I got to pay X amount of dollars, it's bad. Yeah, it's a bad investment. Keep pushing. I mean, it's that easy on that. So I think some of it can. Now, here's the part of it. AI can only use information that's available to it. So let's say the information it gets is not true to where it actually is. So it gave you a quote, kind of bad quote, but it gave you a bad quote on the information it had available. So yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll keep it pushing. We'll keep it moving. Let's see what else you got for us.
Should really focus on the data side of things.
One of the things I get a lot of pushback on is when I tell people you got to take 25% or 50% of your money and put it away into the market. It's one thing we really have always connected on. Can you talk to the men about why that's important? Maybe taking a half a decade or a decade to do so?
Yeah, it's so huge that, that 25%. I mean, here's the best way to describe it. And if you put 10% of your income in the market and you put 10% of your market for a 43-year career, right? Now you basically have, 10% times, times a career of 43 years would probably have you at about 4 years in retirement, 4.3 years of retired. Now you add compounding to it. Now maybe you got 8 to 10 years. That's just not enough.
Yeah.
Right? You need about 25 times your desired salary to have enough money to retire, assuming you're going to use the 4% rule. So,
okay, can you give that math again for those who didn't catch it?
So he's given tips on, as we talked about living paycheck to paycheck. And last night on the live stream, we talked about how President Trump has a 401k plan for those who make under $37,000 a year. And what the projections on that is. Based on what he's saying, it actually kind of aligns closer to what President Trump has proposed for them. He was saying if you put $165 a month in the Trump 401k accounts, then that actually would probably be closer to like 20%, 25%. So with I'm assuming, I think it's $1,000 a year that the government gives you as well. So this is aligning kind of similar to that, but people's ability, as we just talked about this entire live stream, the ability to actually execute and do that is what is at hand here. So let's see what he says about the math.
So yeah, 25 times your desired salary, right? So for example, if you want to make $200,000 a year, you're going to need about $5 million put away because you take 4% of $5 million, that gets you 200,000. The interesting thing about that, Ian, is that's today. So if you're going to retire, right, 20 years from now, right, the future value of $5 million today could be closer to $7.5 million. Now, a lot of people get afraid of those numbers. I know you guys have shared these numbers and people are like, oh, it doesn't take all that. Yeah, you could back out some money if Social Security is going to be there. You could back out some money if you have multifamily properties. You could back out some money if you have a pension, which are quickly going away. But the reality is we're going to need real money to retire. And so putting 25% of your income away is just the start. For these college grads, you could do it and not even feel it coming out of college. But when you talk to college grads, they're like, well, when I make more money, I'll save more money. But what happens when you make more money? You end up having more bills. And you're not able to put that kind of money away. You really need to put that kind of money away. It's a serious thing.
So I think that kind of also wraps up everything that we talked about tonight. For the young people, they definitely say like, oh, I'll do when I have more money, because they look at, if I put the 5% in there, 5% of what I'm making is, not a lot. Well, your 5% today is not going to be a lot, but you have 30, 40 years left to work. I mean, it will be a lot. So, anything that you put in there definitely counts. Joe said, you don't need 5 mil. It's people like this with the fear mongering that have people terrified. Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I think
living within your means. So there are certain things that apply to this, right? If you own your home and you are not renting, yes, maybe, but you still have to worry about certain things. Like right now, I think if you're over a certain age, then you would get exempt from taxes. There's homestead acts for allowing for older people to stay in their homes, and I think property tax gets to be capped at. I'm not old as shit yet, so I can't recall, but I am pretty sure that there's those types of provisions in place that kind of help with inflationary things. The whole premise of needing around $2 million, that's like having $100,000 salary or more for however long you would need it. He said math is very basic. Yep, he's correct. And he'll pull that up. She'll pull that up in a second. But
this is not financial advice. I know that's right.
Yeah.
This is not financial advice. This is just
Right.
sharing information that was out on the interwebs.
So for maybe their particular lifestyles, the people that are talking on there, they need 5 to 10 million for retirement because they have, you know, the 6 or 7 bedroom house that they need to make sure that the property taxes are available on.
Them taxes, especially you in Texas or something.
Yeah, Texas taxes whooping ass. They got whips and chains. So right. But so it depends on who you are and what your particular endeavors are and what you've done along the way in order to make sure that you're financially stable enough to maintain, because the whole thing that we want to do, right, is be in good health. That's one thing that takes people's asses out here. You know, having bad health, it wrecks a lot of your finances. And then you want to be able to be independent and live on your own as long as possible, right, when in your retirement.
Yeah, my thing is this. Even if you're not doing 4%, new college grads, if you have an employer, anybody, if you have an employer that matches like your retirement, like just this is not financial advice, but like let's just talk about math. You're literally leaving money on the table because they're giving you the amount of money you put up. So if you put up $5, they gonna put up $5. It's not financial advice, it's just math. So at the very least, if you did it for 1 month, you made $5. That's it. And you put 5 up, so you got $10. That basic at its core. So if you have an employer that matches your 401k, HSA, any other kind of benefits, like when they say match, sometimes you have to be there a certain amount of time before they like release it to you. But that means that they're gonna give you the amount of money you put up.
Yeah, people over there looking for the wrong shit. They looking for GLP-1 benefits instead of, you know, the
what? People take a job for this? What?
Yeah.
I mean, I know people do that for like IVF and stuff like that. Like people, family planning, like people do take jobs for stuff like that because people, employers didn't always cover a lot of those kind of benefits. But Wakeovie, like y'all taking jobs because they give you the certain, give you the.
Well, if it's covered, yeah, by the insurance, yeah.
Okay.
Because that's for some people that's for life now. So. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that this encouraged folks, gave them a little bit to drip on, just think about. So we have our next show, which will be of course, next Friday at 11:30. This is just a little bit of that extra drip that Talk Tech to me. So very much appreciate y'all rocking with me. Remember this. These things we're talking about, even paycheck to paycheck, technology's influence. It's not just Gen Z. It's not just Gen X who's approaching retirement. Like, it's everybody. And boomers, y'all, too. Because if everybody stops working, you ain't got no money. Because y'all living longer. The rest of us kind of know we
There's
might not.
a market
We might
for
not
senior
get
citizen rubbery ass feet pics. Probably.
Who is buying that?
Everybody.
I bet OF got every category you could think of, boy. That's why that Florida.
I mean, shoot, I knew it was something crazy
that.
when they said somebody was like eating food and people was, you know. Never mind. I'm not going down this road. We're done.
All right, y'all. I am your solo host, Jim Jones, with this show of Talk Techie to Me. Make sure y'all hit that like button if you haven't already. If you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? Also, check out the socials below. We're on all the platforms. We appreciate you rocking with us. Once again, tell 2 people you like and someone you don't, because you won't regret it. And we will see y'all Friday, 11:30 p.m. EST. Plain Name will be rocking with us, and we will see y'all next Friday. Mwah. He said, don't worry about what I spend my money on.
Jim Jones in a fresh fit. They ain't laid back. Watch the wrist hit. They don't chase, they just lean in. Cool talk, make the whole room listen. Little gloss on a clean face. Soft voice when the eye contact's made. Show up, let your truth drip. Every word like a slow sip.
Any drip flow, let it run slow. We don't rush, we don't back, we just go. Tell your supervisor we good, you can go. We just vibe, we just vibe, we just know. Daily drip flow, watch the game grow. Let them stay while we move and control. Every word that we say, that's a code. We just vibe, we just vibe, we just know, yeah.
They break it down like a how-to. Let the style come to you. Light left and they'll bless you with a line. Game lace, but it still sound kind. Soft tone, but the message hit deep. Wear grace, like the watch you keep. One nod, now your whole day changed. Same you, but the all rearranged. No show, this is steady. Yeah.